All right, and we are live. I'm so excited to be doing another video conversation with the co-host of Sow the Seeds Retreats, Danielle Lyles Barton, and one of our special guests, Lauren Ash. Welcome.
Hey. Yes. So we wanted to just take some time to share all of our tips and tricks with everyone. And you heard a little bit from Tiffany. Now we're going to hear from Lauren's perspective and really hear about how Lauren maintains her wellness routine and wellness practices while she's traveling. Traveling can definitely be a bit disorienting, so we want to learn from someone who has been able to travel quite frequently through her work with Black Girl in Om and abroad. And just to get started, we'll just share a little bit about the retreat. If you're on here and you're wondering, what is this retreat you're talking about? What's happening? Karlene, do you want to start by sharing about Bali and the Sow the Seeds retreat?
Sure, yeah. So just about Bali as a note, and why we chose that location for our retreat is because many people call it the manifestation location. So we are going to the heart of Bali in Ubud, where there is a strong cultural presence, but magic really happens there. And it's hard to explain. You just have to experience it. And I had the pleasure of experiencing it. So when Danielle and I were discussing the place to bring a next group of women to really focus on how to manifest their purpose, a purpose-driven life, a fierce life, Bali was a really natural conversation. So what Danielle and I do is we describe ourselves as two parts of the same brain, where Danielle is a very right-brained oriented person who will take you through a really emotional component of a journey and help you to have those types of transformative breakthroughs to, as she calls it, clear the muck and get some clarity on what your purpose is and who you really are, what identity you choose to carry. And she does this really well through breath and movement. And I'm really great to partner with her. I'm really grateful, to partner with her in this way, because I bring a more left brain perspective of things, focusing on more of the strategy and detail on how are you going to bring that clarity of your purpose into action. How are you going to take steps toward that manifestation? And then also being willing to see what comes and be open. So the retreat is called Sow the Seeds Retreats, and we really focus on planting our vision, our dreams into fertile ground and watching them bloom. So we hope, if you're interested, you can visit sowtheseedsretreats.com and apply there.
Yes, and we are so grateful and so honored to have the Lauren Ash joining us on the retreat as a featured guest. And so for anyone out there who may be wondering, Lauren, will you tell us who is Lauren Ash?
Sure. So thank you both. I'm so excited to attend this magic experience that you all curated so intentionally. I know both of you are two of the most potential people I know, so I'm very so I am someone who cares deeply about my wellness and the wellness of particularly Black women around the world. So through this care, many things have birthed. One in particular is Black Girl in Om, which is a lifestyle brand and global community that I founded in 2014 after stepping into my own awareness of, I would say, a couple of things. So number one, how the wellness experience is not just a trend, but it is a lifestyle, and it's an ongoing practice that continues to unfold and reveal itself in many different ways. And so it takes commitment, hence why in Om. So Om is all things. It is light, it is dark, it is life, it is death, and it's being open to whatever that journey will bring us, right? And also an awakening around my passion for wellness and my passion for Black women and wanting to bring those two things together, because the wellness industry is still often so whitewashed. And more than that, it's oftentimes still not even inclusive to those who are not white. And so I really realized, okay, these are my two passions. Why don't I be someone to take up that baton and create a space where women of color can. So yeah, I'm a yoga teacher. I also really enjoy guiding meditation. Um, and I really enjoy just curating a vibe, curating a space of people to really step in and just be their authentic selves with one another and practice, because sometimes it's hard. So practice being their authentic selves in a safe space.
Thank you. And you have, in addition to Black Girl in Om, you have quite a few projects that you're working on, right? Do you have any upcoming projects that we should be looking out for?
Yes, and I'm actually glad you said that, because I'll also kind of break down what Black Girl in Om encompasses, just in case anyone out there wants to know a little more. So we have a podcast, and Danielle has been an amazing guest. I mean, our conversation made me cry, which I had never done on the podcast before. So that speaks to you also being vulnerable and then allowing me to be vulnerable. So that was really special. And we've had amazing guests from various backgrounds. We've had Dr. Tiffany Lester on the show too, talking about preventative health. So it's really a space, a unique space within the podcast landscape where Black women and women of color more broadly can learn about how to journey deeper into an intentional practice, intentional healing. And we also have an online publication, OM, where we have contributors from all over the world really sharing tips and their own journeys and experiences around every topic you can imagine. So everything from how twerking is a meditative practice to, why Black women should consider going plant-based. We still oftentimes have a stigma that no Black people anywhere are vegan or considering veganism. So really, a lot of topics that are still oftentimes taboo in our community. Therapy, we also have ongoing wellness sessions in Chicago, Self-Care Sunday, which allows for our community to, on a regular basis, really get in touch with themselves and in touch with one another, and delve into the various topics that we're exploring on the podcast or exploring on the online meditation. We have a couple other things too, but those are some of the highlights that I want to focus on. And beyond that, Dion Ivory and I, Dion being the art director for Black Girl in Om as well, about a year and a half ago, 2 years, we co-founded another platform called Lifestyle with Ivory. It's so beautiful how when you start something and you know that it's necessary, it continues to reveal itself and unfold in various ways. Like what we started it as, it's still that, but it's also every day we're like, oh, this is what it is. So when we first began, it was out of a really serendipitous moment where I commissioned Dion to create a design to coincide with a mindfulness experience that I had planned. And it was the intention basically that I wanted everyone who attended to walk away with this canvas. And, that they would write their mantra alongside the image. And then I was like, this just needs to be a thing, especially for women of color. We need ourselves represented visually and in a really beautiful way, and in a way that reminds us to take care of ourselves and to cultivate mindfulness throughout our lifestyle. So we talked, and it was along the same time that she was also having these ideas. And there was just this divine serendipity. So we basically decided to move forward with this platform called Lifestyle with Ivory now. And first it was creating mantras and affirmations alongside illustrations, all geared toward women of color. So we have a gratitude collection, a love collection. And then we realized, okay, well, also a lot of women of color are reaching out to us around our creative entrepreneurial practice and how we find balance while striving to basically take over the world in a good way. We just get a lot of women around our age or maybe younger, maybe a little bit older, who are like, you all are doing something that is working, that's resonating, that's reaching people in a meaningful way. I want to do that too, and I want to do well. So then we started offering a series called Mastering the Glow Up, which isn't just about how to make sure that you're getting paid and that you're, you know, negotiating what you're worth and that you're being aware of your value, but also like, how are you cultivating sisterhood? How are you building a tribe? How are you lifting up other women and not just thinking about yourself? So we really have realized that it's also positioned to be a really amazing resource hub and just really deep kind of space for connection for young women of color who are also creative and aspiring entrepreneurs. So it's just, we love the idea of just connecting women of color who are makers and artists and really all about, you know, living their most authentic careers as well.
So in essence, it sounds like what you do, specific to the Mastering Your Globe workshop and beyond, is you're really focused on co-creating the life that you desire to live, i.e. manifesting.
Yeah.
Right? So what would you say if you had to describe or define manifestation? Like, what does that word mean to you?
Yeah, I love manifestation. I would describe it as like deeply believing it and seeing it without necessarily seeing in the tangible realm whatever it is, but you know that it is, well, you know that it is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think of it, sometimes I break it down real simply to people who are like, what is manifestation? As simple as a to-do list. We all know what it's like to have a little sticky pad where you're kind of writing down the things that you want to maybe go to the grocery store and get. Yeah, exactly. The things that you want to just have done before the end of the week. Mm-hmm. None of those things are necessarily in the tangible realm. You've just written them down, and then your mind is then moving in that direction. Your mind is like, okay, gotta get that, gotta get that, gotta get that. You might put it off, you know, it might be one of those things where like you kind of forget about it, you lose the sticky pad, and you find it a week or a month later, and you're like, oh yeah, I did have to get that. But it starts to kind of prime your thinking to say, okay, yes, yes, yes. And then once you get it, it's like that feeling of like, I was going to get this all along. Like this was already written. Literally, I wrote it down, you know? So I think about manifestation just that same way. Like some people think it's really wild when you're saying all these like grand dreams and visions for your life. But I'm just like, of course I would speak it. Like that's what allows it to then, you know, start to grow and flourish and develop. So yeah, I've been like intentionally manifesting, I would say, since 2014, which is when I started Black Girl Now. And honestly, one of the first memories I have around it was when I decided to quit my day job. And what I did was I deleted any evidence of my day job from like my planners and from my my digital calendars as well. Because I said, okay, if I am going to leave and then start this, not even start, but continue this other project that I had started while I was still working, then I need to make it visible, you know? So I like distinctly remember, like, I actually think I still have it on my Instagram if you scroll all the way back. Like, I literally had it just after a certain date, everything was blank. And I was like, that is telling myself, guess what? You can create anything. You can fill this with anything that you desire.
That's really beautiful for so many reasons. I have a feeling I know where Danielle might want to go with that. But I just really want to say for a moment, I so appreciate the analogy of the Post-it note because for me, maybe not for everyone, but writing and journaling, putting actual language, very careful language to my vision, even if that language shifts, has helped me to bring shape to it. And so then it's like, oh, that acknowledgement of this is what will be. It is already written. And it's written, and I may not have all the tools today to get there, but the tools exist because I can see it. So it can be. And now it's just to allow it to be. So that just like really locked for me. And that's a big component of what we integrate into how we teach at the retreat. So so much synchronicity.
Yeah. I mean, that is just so spot on with exactly what I was feeling and thinking as you were sharing, Lauren, like just everything that Karlene highlighted, you know, the to-do list. I mean, making it a non-negotiable and making it that simple. I know Karlene and I have had a lot of conversations around manifestation. And is like manifestation something that comes from maybe a place of privilege? Is manifestation something that is like too eclectic or too, you know, intangible? And the way in which you have described it is so in line with one of the tools that Karlene will specifically be teaching from, which is bullet journaling. It's the same exact thing. Sticky note, bullet journaling, same. And just like really making it that simple. And I mean, when you write down that you need, you know, kale and tomatoes from the grocery store, then you even if your checking account doesn't show that you can go get the kale and tomatoes today, you know that you got to make it happen. You got to eat. And it's the same thing. Like, I have to create this. I have to bring this into my life, whether it's today, tomorrow, next month, or 11 months from now.
And what's really funny is that even if your checking account doesn't have the budget for the kale and the tomatoes, when you're in manifestation mode, you get real creative and you're like, oh, Doveco Cafe in Baltimore has every Thursday free produce, no questions asked, local farms. Come get whatever they had left over. What will you find there? Kale and tomatoes. It's the intention toward bringing those things into your life. And when those things are essential to your identity and to the purpose that you feel deeply connected to, then your mind won't, while you're sleeping, you will be participating in the manifestation process. And it's just such a cool thing to see and to experience, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said before, Karlene, used the word allow as well. And that speaks directly to it, because like we can oftentimes be really good at putting up barriers and resistance to amazing things in our lives, because when you have blinders on, like you can have blinders on to the good or blinders on to the not so good. And so you're more open to receive the kale and the tomatoes if that is your intention and you've written it down, when otherwise it could have been happening the whole time and you were over here thinking about how you couldn't afford the produce.
Exactly. Amen, sister.
That's a word.
Yes, we tend to like drop little mini sermons on our videos. So definitely to everything that you've said. One thing that I would love to add is that it's the intention. So for example, Lauren, I know that you've in December recently transitioned to being plant-based. So you're not going to write steak on your list because it's not in line with where you are, your purpose, your mission, with who you you know, are wanting to show up as, who you are wanting to be in this world, right? Maybe at one point that was on your list. But when you were transitioning, even in the transition, even when it was still something that you were like learning how to do, you weren't writing that down because you knew where you were going. And it's the same thing that we teach at Sow the Seeds, is that you first have to get really aligned. You've got to figure out who you are at your core and who you need to be to manifest these things in your life. And then once you're in line with that, whether you're already that thing or you're moving towards it, then you can get super clear and write your post-it note or put in your bullet journal what it is that you're manifesting in accordance with where you're going, right? So
yeah,
just also good. Obviously, we could talk about manifestation for at least 5 days.
Right, I was gonna say, that's what we will be doing.
But probably even more, because it's just something that, like, I know Lauren, you and I are always talking about. Karlene, of course, we're definitely always talking about, and it really just does become a part of your life where sometimes you even like, accidentally manifest and you call things into your life, you're like, oh gosh, that's so aligned. Like I just had the intention and I didn't even know what it was going to look like, but hey, yep, I'll take it. Or you'll write something down. This just happened, Lauren, I was sharing with you, and you kind of forget about it. You let it go. You're practicing non-attachment, and then it comes into your life and you're like, hold up, I did write this down.
Yeah.
Right? So all of the tools and tips and tricks, we can't give them away on this video. We're going to share so much more and like really help everyone to get really crystal clear on what they're specifically manifesting. But thank you, Lauren, for sharing what manifestation means to you.
Yeah. Can't wait to talk more.
Yes. So one thing that we do want to hear from you about is, you know, as a wellness practitioner, as someone who curates wellness for so many women and has to travel to continue to promote this message and this mission of wellness, how do you specifically maintain your wellness routine when you're traveling?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's ever evolving because I've really learned that there are certain places that I travel to where it's honestly way more natural for me to continue to like be really well and to thrive. And then some places where I go and I'm like, I feel uninspired, or the access to doing like a communal, you know, wellness routine is like not there. So I've really learned a lot about myself through this whole process. So I would say, number one, as with everything, be intentional. So planning ahead always helps me. So like when I went to New York 2 weeks ago, for example, and again, when you set the intention, you don't have to necessarily do it consciously. It's just kind of there sometimes. You know, my intention is always to be well. So then it just, again, the attraction, right? So when I went to New York, my friend Milana reached out to me saying, hey girl, I have this rooftop yoga happening. I'd love to have you, you know, and I was like, where is it? And again, like all the human things, like I think immediately I was like, oh, I'm busy. Like, I don't think I can go. But I asked her, I was like, well, where is it? She said Manhattan. At this time, I was planning on staying in Harlem. So I was like, well, it depends on where it is. And then she also said like 7:30 in the morning. I nearly lost my breath. I said, I don't know if I'll be up that early. But then again, when you have the intention and your heart is open, it will, you know, it will happen for you. I ended up staying with my friend Liana the night before, who was also planning on going. So I ended up going, you know what I mean? If I would have immediately said, no, I can't because I'm too busy, I guarantee you I wouldn't have been there. And it was an amazing experience, not just because it was yoga, which I loved. It was a new teacher that I never met before. I ended up reuniting with people. I ended up seeing one of our Black Girl Gnome team members. And it was a gorgeous view of the city, and it was an amazing like day. I was like, I would have blocked my blessing, you know? So being intentional, planning ahead, opening yourself up to receive what you can naturally attract just from that intention. I would also say, when you're not necessarily traveling to a space where your go-to wellness rituals, maybe it's yoga, or maybe it's like, you know, running outside, I don't know, like going to some kind of fitness class or whatever, just think about the things that are always accessible, you know? So meditation, you can do that. You're in a room full of 100 people just by closing your eyes and walking to a corner. You know what I mean? Going to the bathroom, taking 5 minutes. So meditation has become definitely more of my go-to practice. And I usually do mindfulness meditation. So literally just a body scan. How am I actually feeling? You know, before we started this call, Karlene, you asked me, how was I feeling? And I said, I'm present. So that's the only answer I can truly give you right now. Like, I have a lot of amazing things happening in my life right now. And then I also have a lot of challenging things happening. And it's like sometimes hard to like, you know, just really be like, I'm good, when like you have that very weird dichotomy. So meditation and mindfulness meditation really help me just accept and allow and acknowledge all that is. I always put on a little beautiful chorus. They have both mantras as well as more sound healing music that really helps ground my spirit and assess where I'm at. And then because I'm plant-based, which we spoke to earlier, Danielle, planning ahead for meals is almost like I have to now, because like taking long flights, we all know that the airport has like the worst food ever. Mm-hmm. So I have to like plan to bring produce with me or nuts or something, just so that I make sure that I don't really like get into a situation where I'm literally like feeling like I'm, you know, we're in a first world nation. None of us are, none of the three of us are starving ever. So I don't like to use that word, but you know, really, really hungry. Like yesterday, I had quite the journey, y'all. I flew from Chicago to Boston and then Boston to Rutland, Vermont. No one told me this little plane was going to be a 9-seater plane. So I'm on this little plane. I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. And then I land, and then the car service that was scheduled for me to get to this yoga festival that I'm at went to the other airport. So your girl was stranded in the middle of Rutland, Vermont, and I didn't have. Oh, I had a pear and I had an orange. They're actually both over there. Because you know how we do sometimes when we're hungry, we'll still be like, I don't want to eat right now. And then this woman was like, I'll drive you to the Denny's. So I find myself at Denny's, and they're like, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, so I got myself in a situation where I had produce, but like I should have had like nuts. I should have had more hearty options. So I'm just sharing that to say like sometimes you're not perfect. Oftentimes you're not perfect. And it was just a reminder of like, oh yeah, I gotta always make sure that I have what I need, because you never know when you're not gonna have what you need around you, and you still need to like have yourself be, you know, if not optimal well-being, like a place where you feel good and nourished, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once you touch down and wherever you're traveling, of course, you know, the food options tend to expand a bit more. Are there, what are some other wellness routines that you have, like once you've landed, in addition to meditation, you know, seeking out a yoga practice, that you're like, okay, this has to happen? Is it ensuring 8 hours of sleep? Is it a smoothie? Is it I mean, I don't know, but what are some other tangible tools that you have to keep you feeling well?
I would say hydrating even more, because, you know, when we fly, that stale, dry air. So, and it's not just about like, water is just so good for everything. So digestive system, so that whatever I am eating, even if it's different than what I would eat at home, like I'm keeping myself regulated. It's about the skin as well. And it's about just feeling my best. Like we just feel so much better when we drink a lot of water. I would also say anytime that I set an actual intention for my trip, my whole trip expands. Like every time, I actually need to do it for this trip that I'm on right now. Actually, I think it kind of happened when I was on a little plane yesterday, because it was like the summer solstice. I was high up in the sky in this tiny little plane, and all of these ideas that I've been having around expansion and elevation just came like full. So actually, I think I do know it. My intention is expansion, and expansion is so not comfortable, and I think I've been realizing that more lately. So embracing the discomfort in it. So setting an intention, and then also I tend to bring my journal with me, and I actually tend to use my travel as a way to not only document what I'm experiencing on my trip, but also to kind of catch up on journaling about like the growth I've been experiencing just in my day-to-day in general. Like a lot of people laugh when I say this, but like I have a really bad memory in terms of like just like life moves really fast. And so for me, journaling is not just about like writing down like a dear diary, like this is what happened, but it's like it really does help me analyze and assess my growth. You know, like I look back at all my journals and I'm like, wow, that's what I was thinking about myself. That's what I was thinking about the situation. Like, and I'm just so completely beyond that now. So it's really like crucial for me. Otherwise, like I will literally just forget about an entire experience that I had because life just moves so quickly, you know? So journaling is just such a key reflection opportunity for me.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question. So you talked about setting your intention for the trip. Can you tell us like what you mean when you say intention? Everyone who may be watching this may be like very new language for them. So when you say intention, like what is that? What do you mean? And like how do you do that?
Yeah. So intention. So I think of it as like, regardless of what happens, good, bad, useful, not useful, whatever happens circumstantially around me, this is still who I am. This is still what I'm rooted in. This is still what I'm like standing on. So, you know, if my intention is to be present, it means that if something happens and it is wanting me to be future oriented, which is often anxiety. We're thinking about, okay, what if this happens next? Da, 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 da. Or something happens that gets me to think about the past, which is often like dwelling in more of a depressive state, like, oh, wow, this, you know, like, and it could be that, you know, like rightfully so, you're getting and you're feeling. However, I'm trying to stay with the present. Okay, well, what is happening now? And how can I be present with my body, with my breath, with my mind? And it allows you to also be in control of your reaction to whatever happens, rather than getting, you know, blown in the wind and getting swayed by someone else or some circumstances trying to get you down. Or if my intention is to be, well, my intention all month long has been rooted in ease, an energy of ease. And I really learned a lot about that. That does not mean easy. That does not mean that everything is going to be like magical and happy and rainbows. But it's like, regardless of what happens to me, all of it can happen for me. And what's more than that, I can still have an energy of peace and contentment, regardless. And actually, I have to, because that was my intention. And if I truly am trying to live a life at all times of intention, then I can't just throw it away when it's not convenient, you know? So it just really allows you to cultivate mindfulness overall around your own spirit and your ways of moving throughout life, regardless of what happens.
Yes. Yes. I mean, what you're speaking to is non-attachment, right? Is, you know, you've set the intention, you're not attached to what that looks like and exactly how that's going to show up for you, but just, you know, reminding yourself to find the ease in every circumstance and to be present in every moment, and to just like really live in the space of flow. So for you as a practitioner of non-attachment, do you have like one, and ladies, if you're watching this and you're like, ooh, what's non-attachment? Ooh, tell me more. And you're like loving whatever Lauren is about to share. Lauren's going to share more in depth about this on the retreat. So definitely there'll be an opportunity for everyone to like pick your brain and like really learn more about this practice of yours. But let's share a little bit with folks about one quick tip or thought about your practice of non-attachment.
Yeah. So, I mean, non-attachment is so interesting because the practice of it can reveal so much more about our assumptions, I think, of what like we deserve and what we don't deserve. And what I mean by that is when we are saying yes to a journey of manifestation and yes to a journey of living a life with intention, it's easy to feel like we know what our most like authentic, aligned life looks like. But sometimes still subconsciously, we can hold tightly on to this idea that actually could be a smaller version of what could actually happen. And I think too that, and I know from experience that that holding on like too tightly to that version then can like stifle not just that bigger version of our lives from actually coming into fruition, but it can also like stifle our own growth without us knowing it. So like just literally everything, I'm convicting myself by talking about this right now, but like literally everything that happens to us does happen for us. And so anytime that we experience something that's like super challenging, regardless of what it is our responsibility to say, okay, what can I create from this? You know, it just gets me to think about this mantra that I feel like comes into my life again and again. Like, I'm not a victim, I'm a creator. So, I'll just give an example. Like, I, within Black Girl in Elm, like, this journey of manifesting it, there have been many times where I could have said no to something because it wasn't a part of like my vision, like even the podcast, which is one of our most like far-reaching expressions of our mission, and also we have the biggest community around it in terms of our listeners. That was not at all something that I saw as a part of the original vision. I wasn't even listening to podcasts. I barely even knew what a podcast was. And, there were many people who were like, ooh, like, look, your voice is so calm, like you listen to all day. And people come to the yoga classes and be like, oh my God, you start a podcast. And, what if I would have said no? I would have been holding too tightly onto this original idea, the original vision that I had for what Black Girl in Elm was and what it wasn't, And I started to more so say, okay, maybe. And lo and behold, I found myself at the beginning of 2016 sitting down with a friend of mine, James, who was an avid podcaster, and he told me that he was starting this platform and that it was going to support podcasters who were, occupying marginalized identities, because the podcast landscape is still so white male. And I was like, oh, well, people have been telling me to maybe consider starting a podcast. And he was like, you want to join our collective? And I was like, sure, And had I let all of the reasons for why I shouldn't do it, have no time, the team was still small, I didn't know anything about podcasting, get in the way. And certainly those things were kind of coming up in my mind, that if I would allow those things to get in the way and allow myself to hold too tightly and attach myself too much to like what Black Girl in Elm was, which was still a limited idea, then we wouldn't be here with, what I know has been such a deeply inspiring and transformative expression of our vision for so many women of color around the world. So it's just so important to, I think when I think about non-attachment, I think about like what it means to hold too tight onto something versus to say, all right, I have this intention, I'm manifesting, and I'm going to allow myself to let go of the reins a little bit so that the vision can take me where it needs to take.
That, yeah. You said you were convicting yourself right there, but definitely many things that we don't have time to hit on really hit home for me. So thank you for that. One thing in particular that my brother and I'm from a family of entrepreneurs, so we're all always strategizing, finding the best way to move forward. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's not a straight path. No matter what vision, no matter what vision you set out, it's like there's one thing you can be sure of, that is not where you will end up. And something that my brothers and I talk often about is maintaining a commitment to the message rather than the method. And that is really what you just reminded me of in this moment, is that the message, especially when you're a social entrepreneur, you're a mission-driven entrepreneur, and it's something bigger than you, the method that it is delivered in is far less important than actually maintaining alignment with the intention. So I think that translates obviously to much more than just entrepreneurship, but life will present many different opportunities to us, and we can look and see, is this in alignment with our intention, especially when it's something that we didn't predict before, something that we hadn't considered, something that wasn't possible to be in our vision because we hadn't seen it. Mm-hmm. And so when you spoke to the visualizing too small, that it can be something bigger, and if we're too attached, that really, really resonated with me. So yes, thank you 1,000 times. So much for me to soak up.
Yes. So, Karlene, do you have any last minute questions for Lauren, or Lauren, do you have any last minute tips that you'd like to share?
Is there anything that you pack in particular that maybe is not on a typical packing list?
Yes. So I actually have recently started packing travel candles. Because, well, also because I started using candles in my meditation. So instead of closing my eyes, I'll actually like gaze at the flame of a candle. So, I mean, it smells good because it's aromatherapy, but it also allows me to hone in my energy and my attention to whatever it is I'm focusing on in my meditation. What else do I pack? I'm always looking around. I always pack a water bottle, which I know, Danielle, you have the amount that you need to drink in every day with your water bottle. But I mean, it cuts down on waste, of course, and it's just a visual reminder to make sure I hydrate. So I think that's important. And then I also make sure that I pack. I'm so glad, y'all. Somehow, I forgot all of my usual facial products, and I'm very into skincare, so I kind of was shook. But then I realized that I have Abana's Hana Hana Beauty Shea Balm, which is like, you put that on my edges, put that on my lips. I put it all on my face, which I've never done before today, and I put it on my body. So packing something that can be an all-in-one like Shea is a godsend.
Thank you for that. Updating my my packing list as we speak.
Yes, and we'll be sharing graphics too to let everyone know about all of these tips that you've dropped, Lauren. So if there is a particular brand like Hana Hana Beauty that you fully believe in and that you always bring with you when you travel, do share with us.
Yes, we'll do it.
So, Lauren, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing with Black Girl in Om and beyond?
Yes, so I have two websites. So blackgirlinom.com, which is for the brand. And then I have my personal website, which is laurenash.co, where I've been sharing more of my musings. I wrote a letter to my 27-year-old self, which I think really deeply connects to this topic of manifestation. 27 is when I really started my journey of manifestation and started building Black Girl in Om. So a mentor of mine really encouraged me to write this letter, like what I would have told myself then, if with what I know now, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I'm on social media at Lauren Ash. No, that's not true. At Hello Lauren Ash. And then you can follow the platform also at Black Girl in Om.
Hey, well, thank you so much for taking the time out to share your tips, your tricks. We're always, looking to expand the ways in which we are well. That's something that's very important to both Karlene and I, and that will really be demonstrated throughout the entire Sow the Seeds retreat. So thank you, Lauren, for your time. We're so excited that you're going to be joining us because everything that you've shared today and just having a personal relationship with you really lets us know that you're in such complete alignment with what we're doing. And we're really excited that the ladies who will be attending will have an opportunity to commune with you.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Thank you both for having me.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. And if this sounds appealing to you, and honestly, while we're all advocates for travel and we're all advocates for stretching and growing and manifestation, if this feels like it's in alignment for you right now, there's no pressure. There's no FOMO. I remember a specific email that Lauren, you said in relationship to our last retreat, actually, and this just stayed with me, is what is meant for me cannot be taken from me. So this is not a sales pitch to pressure anyone. Yeah. If you're interested, though, where you can find more information about the retreat is at sowtheseedsretreats.com. And if you have any questions, you can email us at hello@sowtheseedsretreats.com. And both Danielle and I are on social media. And if you have any other questions, you'll probably see updates there. But all of that information will be linked below. And we're grateful for you and hope that you've had some epiphanies from this conversation as well. And if there's anything that you want to add, let us know. We're here, we're listening.